Hi, this is Dr. Jock Mogire from the House of Mastery. We are continuing with the journey of the Breakthrough Challenge. Day is day 71. Oh, what a journey this has been, especially on my end, continuing to work full time during this pandemic with so many turbulent interruptions coming along the way, but we continue moving forward. Now, I've been reflecting a lot about everything we have discussed in the prior sessions of the Breakthrough Challenge and everything I am learning along the way. The overarching theme that has emerged through most of the sessions of the Breakthrough Challenge is the idea of lifestyle, where everything that is important in your life, everything that is going to survive turbulence, survive distractions, survive discouragement, survive unpredictability and uncertainty. Everything that is going to still be part of your life, that you will still be pursuing, still be excited about, has to be something that has impacted your lifestyle, shaped your lifestyle in such a way that it has become a natural part of your day to day life. And this is a transformative idea. When we hear about habits, we forget to think about what it means in terms of lifestyle. So that if you are trying to create new habits, the habit of waking up early, the habit of showing up consistently for your goals, the habit of writing your goals daily, the habit of thinking about your vision, the habit of being mindful, being present, of igniting your energy, of creating clear transitions between one day to the next, one week to the next, one month to the next, one activity to the other, one meeting to another, one conversation to another, one location to another, so that in your transitions, you have a ritual, a systematic way of reminding yourself about what's important, what is at the center of your focus in the moment, what must get done, to remind yourself about how you're likely to be caught by distractions, your attention to be hijacked by the bright and shining objects that come along your path until the day these things become habitual, which means they become part of your lifestyle. It you can do it and pursue it and invest a lot of energy in it, but soon you let go of it. It's if there is anything one thing I have learned, especially in the year 2020, from the time coronavirus hit, is that the only things that survive in your life are things that have become part of your lifestyle. Unfortunately, it's very easy for negative habits to have become part of your lifestyle. Habits that waste your time, that sabotage your productivity, that hold you back. Let me give you an example. Over the last 1.5 weeks, I have had one of the busiest seasons. One of the busiest seasons because of the nature of hospital I was working in and being assigned to the intensive care unit, needing to be up several times in the course of the night to respond to phone calls from the ICU nurses, needing to sleep later than I'm used to. I ordinarily, since I started this challenge in October 2020, consistently been able to go to bed by 8:30 p.m. latest. Now needing to stay up until 9, 9:30, sometimes 10 to join in what they call a huddle. In other words, getting all the nurses together at one point and speaking about all the patients in the hospital. And some of the nurses at that time being too busy, needing to call in a little later. So, in other words, I'm just describing to you turbulence, turbulence that I did not expect, turbulence that literally took over my schedule and started dictating it in a different direction. So here's the one thing that was most likely to happen is that my lifestyle will start changing in response to these external pressures, to this turbulence that is happening. And that is what ordinarily happens to all of us, where our lifestyle is molded almost automatically by the pressures that we are facing around us. Pressures from your job, from your family, from your community, from the transportation system you have, if there's traffic jam or an availability of transport at certain times, if it rains frequently during certain times of the day, if some of the social services you need are not available during certain times, you start adjusting your lifestyle in such a way that it fits these external pressures. You adjust the time you wake up to fit what time your church service happens, or what time your local gym opens, or what time the office opens, what time transportation is available, what time your friends will show up for coffee or for a conversation or for an investment meeting, or what time your colleagues at work will show up for the shared decision making. We mold our lives to respond to the external pressures, except external pressures are unpredictable. That at every one time in your life, there will always be a set of external circumstances impinging on your life. And unfortunately, these external circumstances will be different from day to day. If you move from one location to another, different set of circumstances. You move from one employer to another, different set of circumstances. If you start a different business or start a second business, different set of circumstances. In other words, it's very easy for me and you, for you and I, to live our lives unpredictably through year to year to year. And yet, for us to grow consistently in the direction that we desire to grow, we require stability. So the question is, where does the stability for growth come from for you? Where does the stability for some level of predictability come from for you and for me? Because when you look at the innate human needs, one of the most important innate human needs we have is the need for certainty, the need for a level of confidence about how things might turn out. That, yes, there are things we cannot control, there are things we can't predict, there are circumstances we have no control over, but that's not all. There is a set of circumstances over which we have control, so that we have decisions to make over things we have control over and things we don't have control over. And when we structure our lifestyle primarily based on response to the external pressures over which we don't have control, what's likely to end up is that our focus is hijacked constantly by the environment, by the environmental pressures, by the unpredictable circumstances of the environment. And yet, we need directed focus that is geared at controlling the ingredients of our lives and our circumstances and our day-to-day life that we can control. And so the day-to-day life part that I can control and you can control is the part that should be the most central bit in structuring our life, so that we don't structure our life 100% in response to the environment, because that means we will not have a lifestyle in 10 years. We will have an ever-changing structure of our day, an ever-changing set of decisions and set of goals. We structure our life based on a lifestyle built around what we can control. So turbulence is going to come your way. Turbulence is a must. You've had people say the only thing we are assured of in life is change and death. That's true. That's going to happen. But we have a lot of room around which we can begin to control the external circumstances. Because if I let external circumstances take over, that's the end of, for example, the 90-day breakthrough challenge. But I do not let them take over. Whether I have a flu, like I've had a couple of days where I almost thought it's something else, not just a flu, but thankfully it was just a flu. And whether I am as busy as can be, where I'm unable to totally make it to the regular time at 3:30 in the morning or 4:30 in the morning, I begin to control those circumstances. Start looking for alternatives that will still allow me to do what I desire to do, to continue to sustain the lifestyle I have chosen, because I know that the only thing that is going to survive turbulence 10 years from today, the only thing that will have survived in my life are habits, choices, decisions, routines, rituals that are part of my lifestyle. It becomes very easy to sustain it if it's part of your lifestyle. If I have to remember what my goal was when I am pursuing a goal, that's already a fail. But if I can't forget, and I can't forget because I don't need to remember, and that sounds oxymoronic, but it's real. It's when somebody tells you, "Oh, I've I remembered you and I texted you," it means they forgot about you at some point, which is what is naturally supposed to happen. So when it comes to your goals, to your rituals, so for example, when you have a morning routine where there are some things you end up forgetting to do, what it means is these things are not yet part of your automatic lifestyle. In other words, they have not become habitual long enough for them to fit into your lifestyle in such a way that they become so natural to do. If you have to remember to brush your teeth, it hasn't become a natural part of your lifestyle. If you have to remember to dress up before you leave the house, it means it hasn't become part of your natural lifestyle. And that is where we want to get the most important habits that will increase our productivity, enhance our likelihood of achieving what we want to achieve. That's the direction we want to go. That's what we are pursuing to reach a place where the most important habits, if you are a writer, you want to get to a place where when you sit down to write, the habit of focusing on only the one thing at hand becomes so automatic that when you see a phone call, it's no longer a decision of whether or not you're going to take that phone call right now, unless it's an emergency. If you are uh, studying or writing a paper, or writing a book, or reading an important industry journal, and you've set aside that time as sacred time for your personal development, for your growth, or you are seated in front of a client, or you're a physician or a dentist or a nurse or a bank manager or a bank teller, and you are seated in front of a client, the habits you have created about how you maintain eye contact, how you listen, how you focus, how you show the clients that you care, that you're present, that you're focused, that you have prepared for this interaction. You have reviewed their records, whether they are medical records or their banking records, or you're a consultant and you're looking at their business strategy. The habits that you have developed, those micro distractions that you practice in your day-to-day life, will show up when you are dealing with your most important client. And sometimes those are what the client speaks subconsciously, and they decide not to work with you. They decide to go work with somebody else. The only thing that is going to survive through turbulence is whatever is an automatic part of your lifestyle. And so as you build habits, as you challenge yourself to stay consistent with the goals you are pursuing, as you shift your journey and raise your game, remember, it boils down to your lifestyle. It boils down to what have you learned in the pursuit of this challenge that is going to become a part of your lifestyle, an automatic part of your lifestyle that you do daily. And this is why it boils down to the essentials. So that the knowledge that we have shared during the challenge is amazing. Keep it. But the execution of that knowledge is limited by whether or not you're building new habits that reshape your lifestyle with a level of consistency and power and predictability that no matter what happens in the future, in the direction you are going, no matter what happens, you will be on course because you have structured everything as a lifestyle element. Everything that is important has become a part of your lifestyle. How do you manage your energy? How do you control your attention? How do you structure, distribute, and invest your time? All these ingredients, at the end of the day, it boils down to habit. And the only habits that will survive through 2021 and through 2021 to 2022 are the habits which have become part of your lifestyle. And so this is your challenge today and my challenge today. To what extent am I committed to stick with what I am trying to build until it becomes part of my lifestyle? If I'm trying to build a new identity by adopting a new set of core values, a new identity by adopting a more bold vision, a new identity by setting for myself higher standards, to what extent am I willing to persist, no matter what happens, until it becomes a part of my identity? We'll give you an example that I've shared in some places before, but I don't think I've shared it with you during this breakthrough challenge. I was born to amazing parents, but financially they were not as blessed as would have been needed for them to pay my way through school. And so primary school, I went to a set of rural schools, and eventually sat for my final primary school exam at a school called Kerongorori SDA Primary School. And I scored well enough to be admitted to my favorite high school. So I received the letter. I was very excited. I presented it to my parents and they were very excited. But that excitement did not last very long because I think when they saw the letter, it also inspired the questions, how shall we pay for this? And therefore, eventually, I did not end up in the school that I was meant to go to. Instead, I moved from Kerongorori Primary School to Kerongorori SDA Mixed Secondary School, a school that by that time had never graduated anybody who went directly to university by the time I was joining. And here I was. At that time, I remember one of my parents, my mom, had frequent illness, and I saw her get really sick some of the times. I was wondering whether she would make it. And this, amongst other events that I observed in the community, the fact that there was no healthcare available, the nearest clinic was run by a retired midwife. This inspired me to want to become a physician. I wanted to become a doctor. But how do I become a doctor from Kerongorori? Kerongorori SDA Primary School, and now Kerongorori SDA Mixed Secondary School. That was the reality facing me. I am in class being taught biology by a teacher who has not gone for training past high school and who scored a C+ in biology, but I'm needing to score an A if I want to go to medical school. And that was the reality for most of the subjects. We had a handful of government appointed teachers, in other words, fully trained teachers in the school at the time. Now the school has changed dramatically, you wouldn't even believe. But at the time, that was the reality. And so I joined the school, and through Form 1, I was the most discouraged student because I joined the school halfway through the year, sometime in June. And that's because I kept hoping that I might find a way for my school fees to be paid to go to the high school I had been admitted to, but that never happened. And so I joined Kirongorori. When you speak Kirongorori, make sure you don't have anything in your mouth lest you bite your tongue. I joined this school, and here I was. I don't know whether it's naively or boldly believed that I could still make it to go to medical school, in a school where I came in with marks that I had a gap of almost 200 between me and the next student, and a gap of almost 300 between me and the average student in that class, in terms of what I had scored in the final primary school exam. In other words, I was in a class where I had very few other people who had demonstrated a similar commitment, because I don't believe that I've scored that high in primary school because I'm extremely talented. I think I am gifted in a way, but I don't think that it was the gap in terms of my gifting was that big between me and my classmates. It was just the question of what the kind of fire I had. I lived in such circumstances that I had to find a way out, and academics was for me an outlet. And so, being an outlet, I was able to uh, perform so well, and it's because I put in more effort. Period. I put in more effort, and that's the same thing that started portraying itself in secondary school. So I remember in Form 2, the second year of the high school curriculum in Kenya, I I created a small booklet. I got some printing paper and created a small booklet that I could carry in my pocket. And I wrote down the subjects I wanted to take in Form 2. I already knew what the subjects that I would be taking. We didn't have a consistent physics teacher, so I dropped physics. I had I love history, so I had the choice of taking either history or geography. So I dropped geography and continued taking history. So I selected the subjects: biology, chemistry, physics. We didn't even have any equipment or a consistent teacher. I dropped that. I continued, of course, mathematics, English, Swahili, the languages. I wrote down the 8 subjects I was going to take, including business, education, and I wrote down the grades I wanted to score in each of those subjects. This is Form 2. And I'm writing down the date of the Kenya National Certificate of Secondary School Examination, and writing down the grades. And this was 3 years out. 3 years out. I wrote this down, and I wrote the highest. I found that I have written the highest grades that you could score in each of the subjects in Form 2. And what did this do? It became my overarching goal. And what then happened? Because of having an overarching goal, it demanded of me to pursue habits that will keep me consistent until I graduate from high school. I became the student who submits in assignments earliest. If we are given a mathematics assignment, I will complete it the same day. The reason was I never wanted to take homework home, where I had made it mandatory for myself to spend 2 to 3 hours every evening studying, and to study for 1 to 1.5 hours every morning. It became mandatory for me to wake up earlier than anybody else expected me to. It became automatic for me to write compositions without being prompted by the teachers. So I would be writing compositions in both English and Swahili. I would be giving myself assignments. I remember that my performance in the rest of the Form 2, the second year of secondary school education in Kenya, jumped so high that some of my teachers couldn't believe it. But they couldn't believe it because they couldn't see what I was doing. And the reason is that the standard of exams that was being set in the school was set in such a way that it meets the capabilities of the students in the school. And this is what I mean by pressures from the environment, where this was going to be negative pressure. Negative pressure because the bar is being set so low that you don't even need any efforts to hit it. The bar was really, 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 really low. I remember in one of the exams, I remember particularly at the end of Form 2, where I was literally scoring 100% in every subject. But of course, you would never be awarded 100%. They like 97, 98. But I would look at it, I'm like, I've covered all this. But because my focus had shifted from this exams in the school to the final exam, it helped me to retain a humble spirit. And that's because I was voraciously searching for question papers that have been set in other schools and seeing how different exams that students in bigger schools were doing, and landing my hands on those questions and trying to tackle them and realizing these guys are actually doing harder exams than we are doing here. And so the fact that I had set an overarching goal that required of me to create a lifestyle that was consistent, that was predictable, it empowered me with a level of focus, a level of consistency, and therefore a humility that helped me realize that I'm not competing with my classmates in this school, that that I'm not being measured by what is happening in this school. I am preparing to be measured by the ultimate exam. I had gone into this school with the mindset that I don't belong in this school, but it's only going to be 3 years. I retained that mindset. That mindset sustained me. I wrote down the grades I wanted to score, including the final grade. And at the end of my high school, when the national exams came out, I had scored exactly what I had intended to score, except in one subject. And I know what happened in that subject in English, where I had messed up one of the essays myself. And that's I could tell exactly that if I calculate, this is probably where I had messed it up. Such that the lifestyle I created for myself by pursuing an overarching goal, that lifestyle forced me to transcend the opportunities of the environment I was in and start seeking for other opportunities to create and sustain a mindset that was not limited to what was happening in that school. I remember in Form 4 when we did the regional mock exams. These are exams that are done in a district or a division where you have like 100 schools coming together. They are all do the same exam and they're all scored. And I was from one of the smallest schools. Mine was one of the smallest schools. And it came as a shock to my teachers that I emerged top amongst all the students in all these schools, where there are several really big schools, but I outperformed them. But I outperformed them because I was not preparing for this exam. This exam was one of the small steps, one of the bits along the journey to what I was focusing on. My goal had forced me to operate in such a way that whether or not I had a teacher, I was going to show up, I was going to be present, I was going to write my compositions consistently, I was going to do my assignments. I remember by the time I'm completing Form 4, I had already covered all the curriculum. In fact, by Form 3, I had covered some of the chapters that were ahead of us in Form 4. Yet in our school, in Form 4, about 50 to 60% of the curriculum had been covered in most of the subjects by the time we were crossing into the final term of the year, where most of the teachers focused on revisions. I hope you get the point of this story. The point of this story is not for me to tell you, oh, how amazing I've been. I am way past needing for anybody to affirm me for where I have been. I am at a place where I know that what I'm leaving now, today is the final day, tomorrow is the final day. So all I can do is share my journey, and hopefully it inspires yours and helps you stay more consistent with your own journey. So again, to recap, the reason I've shared with you that story is there is a power that I have proven in my life. There is a power in having an overarching goal that is so compelling that it forces you to transcend the limitations of the circumstances you are in, so that you create habits that will survive any turbulence you face, so that you create habits that reshape your lifestyle, because the only ingredients of your life that are going to survive turbulence, unpredictability, uncertainty, surprises, change are those that have become part of your lifestyle. So my challenge again to you today, build ingredients of your lifestyle in such a way that they become natural. Build them. That means set them, start pursuing them, persist in doing them, and persist long enough until they have become an automatic part of your lifestyle. That is how we build a new life. That's how we build a new journey. We build a new identity. We build a new mindset. We build a new attitudes, a new skills, so that this help us to elevate our life up and go in the direction that we want to go. This strategy I used in high school. I had used it in primary school, where I remember writing down the marks that I wanted to achieve, and it's just amazing how it works. When you write something down and you see it often enough that you buy into it emotionally, it automatically manifests itself. It comes to pass. You write it down, but you also start working on your lifestyle, so that when you're facing turbulence, difficulty, discouragement, whatever happens, whatever storm comes your way, if you have something steady that is written, it gives you the ability to control the ingredients of your life that you have control over, to continue pursuing it until the day comes when even external circumstances start responding to the power that you are building within. I wrote it in primary school, I wrote it in high school, I wrote it in university in terms of where I wanted to to end. But as recently as this month, one of the dreams that I had written down, I wanted to go into cardiology. And I wrote that dream down at the beginning of my internal medicine residency. And it came to pass. The most weird thing is that the emotion I experienced when I saw the result felt nostalgic. It felt like a deja vu. It's something that I have experienced before. It's something I experienced when I wrote that goal down and looked at it with so much conviction that it started influencing my mindset. I'm in a university where, in the location of my program, where we don't have such a huge network of academic cardiologists. But I had to start searching for people who would mentor me, start searching for people who would connect me to opportunities I would need to demonstrate my skills. It Just by having that overarching goal, it reshaped my approach to achieving what I had wanted to achieve when I moved to where I am right now. Whatever you are doing right now may or may not survive, and the only way to figure out whether it will survive is whether or not it has become part of your lifestyle. Write your goal down, write your vision down, write your core values down, write your standards down. Whatever you have written down, commit yourself to pursue it with such consistency that it must become part of your lifestyle. The only things that are going to survive through any turbulence you face are only the things that have become part of your lifestyle. I wanted to share that with you, and this is a big reflection that I have bought into with every bit of my fiber, and I hope you buy into it too. Buy into this with your lifestyle. It will change your life. I look forward to meeting you again in the next video. My name is Dr. J.M. King from the House of Mastery, Job Mogire. This is the 90-day breakthrough challenge. Today is day 71. Let's keep going and living with passion.